I'm Yum the Man, and today I bring you Void CD, a newer story that I've gotten really fascinated in. I don't really have much else to say, so let's get started. I'm writing this so I can tell someone what I've personally been going through lately. It's been by far one of the worst periods in my life. And though it sounds insane, I'm pretty sure it's because of a game I bought. I want to get rid of this thing. I want this thing out of my life forever, but I don't want it to come into anyone else's hands. I think some context is needed. I was a huge Sonic the Hedgehog fan back when I was growing up. I was a very lonely kid. Still am, really. And those games brought me great joy and helped me to distract me whenever I felt sad. I was first introduced to the series when my older cousin gifted me his old Sega Genesis that he had stopped playing with a while ago. In it, he had a collection of classic Sonic games, from the first one all the way to 3 and Knuckles. He even had an add-on that allowed me to play one game in particular, Sonic CD. Out of the entire collection, it was always my favorite for some reason. I never really knew why. I guess I just liked it more than the rest. I played the hell out of these games for years on end. I'd fallen in love with this franchise and its characters until one day, the console suddenly decided not to turn on anymore. Since then, I never played another Sonic game for years, and while I still had a soft spot for it, I slowly lost interest in it as I grew up.
Guess who's finally getting his powers?
Finally, some action!
A few weeks ago, though, I was going through an old box with my old childhood belongings, and I found an old Sonic plush I used to play with. It reminded me of the good times I had with the series when I was little, and it sparked in me an interest to play one of those games again, for old time's sake. But I had lost the original game and the console years ago. I'd have to find another way to play them, so I went to Craigslist to see if there was anyone willing to sell their copy of the game to me. I was very lucky and struck gold early. I found a recently put up listing for a disc that had the game burnt into it, which was valued at barely over $10.
I'm giving away this old copy of Sonic CD's port to the PC I've had sitting in my attic for a while. I honestly don't remember where I got it from, but I do know that I don't really have as much of an interest in Sonic as I did years ago. If needed, please contact me for more details.
I followed the guy's instructions and messaged him to see if we could set up a meeting somewhere nearby where I could come pick it up. It turns out we lived in the same town, so we agreed to meet at a local mall for it. The day came and I took a taxi to head over to the mall. In there, I met up with him, a regular dude, barely in his 20s, and he was carrying a plastic bag which I assumed had the game inside. I gave him the money in cash, he handed me the bag in return. We got to talk for a little bit, and he told me how he got the box with the game at a garage sale months ago before he moved houses. We talked for a little while longer before we decided to part ways. I took a taxi and immediately went back home.
Where you going?
Home.
Where's home?
Barely containing my excitement. I couldn't wait to play this game. I took out the cartridge that contained the disc and opened up the computer's disk tray, gently placing it in, and then closing it back up. I powered on my PC to see that a new folder had appeared on my desktop. Inside was a .exe folder that I clicked on to start installing the actual program. Once it finished, a new program with a pitch black square where an icon appeared on my desktop with the title of Sonic CD. I clicked on it twice and the game began. As the game started, I thought back to those old times. I knew this game was the official debut of two important characters to the franchise. Metal Sonic, one of Sonic's deadliest foes and greatest rivals, and Amy Rose, a love-stuck fangirl that was obsessed with him. I always looked forward to seeing their first go-around again after such a long... especially since they were some of my favorite characters right next to Sonic himself. Sorry, excuse me. The game would usually start with an opening cinematic of Sonic running around hills and valleys to get to Little Planet, the setting of the game. But this time, it launched me straight into the title instead. It was odd, but nothing to pay attention to. So I started a new game and got transported to the first level, Palm Tree Panic Zone 1.
Tisk, tisk, tisk.
Once I loaded in, everything was the same as I remembered. Sonic's sprite looked the same, the stage was as vibrant and colorful, all was well and where it should be. The HUD is where some things changed. The live counter was nowhere in sight, so I had no way of keeping track of the lives I had. The score and ring counter were still there, but the timer was different. In other Sonic games, you had a set time limit of 10 minutes before you get a timeout and die, forcing you to start over. This time, however, it began counting down from 10 instead. I came to the conclusion that this must be a modified version of the game. How modified, though, I didn't know yet since I had barely started. But I wasn't really familiar with these kinds of things anyway. I'm kind of ignorant that way. Still, it didn't hinder me in any way, so I started playing. I went over the large ramps from the beginning and began to actually play the level as normal, which went pretty smoothly. Smashing rocks, collecting rings, running around at the speed of sound.
All back by now. Save the rest of them. Find terror. He's gonna something bad's gonna happen to those poor critters.
Something else that I noticed fairly quickly was that every single badnik that I came across was completely black. The only way I recognized them being their silhouettes and how they acted, but again, I chalked it up to being a modification. Green shot. It still was plenty of fun for me though. A blast from my childhood. I didn't get to travel into the past nor future versions of that stage though. Whenever I went through those signs, I get too clumsy and fall to time travel.
I saw a guy do this in a toothpaste ad once. Ta-da!
And by then, I figured that I could just go on to the next level. I was already near the end anyway. And near the end, what was where I knew I'd find...
Why, it's Amy Rose, of course.
She was waiting for Sonic at the end of the level, with her hands behind her back, but I noticed something different. Instead of them being black, her eyes were a golden yellow color. That wasn't the strangest thing about her, though. When she got close to Sonic, she went in and hugged him like I expected would happen. But when I tried to get her off by jumping, she didn't. I tried doing it again. At last, 3 times before she finally let go. I ran away before she could grab me again and went into the last stretch of the level. I ran past the goal sign and finally completed Zone 1 without entering the special stage. Fuck! I was left wondering why that happened with Amy. However, because I clearly remembered that in the original, all it took was 1 jump to free yourself from her hug. Still, that didn't really change or ruin anything for me just yet, though. It was still Sonic CD, so I was going to finish the game. Palm Tree Panic Zone 2 finished loading, and I had to pause for a second. I looked at the timer. It hadn't restarted. It was still counting down at 7 minutes and 28 seconds when I finished the last stage with. Even after resetting the level, the time was still counting down. would that carry on to the next level as well? It made me wonder if someone was actually expecting me to play this entire game in just under 10 minutes. I groaned, sighed, and resigned myself to find out. I continued now with a small sense of urgency, seeing that I had a set time limit before something happened, even if I didn't really know what would happen. I did try to not let it spoil all the fun though. After running across the sign that said "Past" and gathering enough speed, I was able to travel back in time, going into a different version of the stage. I always loved the past aesthetic of this zone. A lot more of the plants, and it had a nice serity. It made me smile. I decided not to dwell on it too much and continue playing. As I played through the rest of the stage, I realized something. I had not come across a single enemy since I arrived here. In fact, the whole stage felt completely desolate of enemies. I even went looking for them in areas I knew they spawned, but nothing. Every single badnik had disappeared from the level, even though I hadn't destroyed the robot transport yet, which was all gone. Needless to say, but it felt weird. Near the end of the stage is where I got all the proof I needed to see that someone was fucking with me. Since, despite being in the past, I found Amy waiting for me at the end again, which is not supposed to happen. I tried jumping over her, but she jumped with me and caught Sonic in a hug. This time, when I tried getting her off me, I struggled. Like her grip on Sonic had gotten even stronger and refused to let go. I had to mash the jump button multiple times to get her to back off before I started running away, but she began to chase me at a speed that nearly rivaled Sonic's. Only nearly though, since she clearly still wasn't fast enough to catch up, and before falling behind, once I had gained enough speed to go to the goal sign this time. Look, I hate yawning. Fuck. As the next zone began to load, I kept going back and forth trying to wrap my head around what the point of all these modifications were, and the only conclusion I came to was just fucking with the player. Palm Tree Panic Zone 3 finished loading, and already more strange things had happened. The time was at 5 minutes and 10 seconds by now.
Oh my god! Get him out! Go! Holy crap, what the hell? Oh my gosh.
The music was gone, and in its place was just an eerie silence that made me feel slightly more uncomfortable. The only sound was coming from Sonic jumping in, or any rings I collected. The sense even carried over to the Eggman boss fight. Eggman himself wasn't safe from these oddities either. While the mech sprite looked perfectly normal, he himself had turned completely black, just like his robots. It looked like his shadow was the one piloting that mech. The boss fight itself was a bit harder since he took a few more hits than I remembered he should, but it was also nearly intolerable to play. Each time I tried landing a hit on him, a short ear-piercing sound would play instead of the usual sound effect you get in other games. It was like a high-pitched screech that felt like someone had taken a drill to my ears. It was that bad. It was so bad that I had to turn down the volume for it, not to hurt as much, but it left a ringing in my ear. After defeating him, Amy reappeared once again. I was starting to get really annoyed of how she never seemed to leave me alone. I anticipated her though, so I got away quickly before she could grab onto me again.
Hi Sonic, I've been meaning to tell you something.
Shut up, you stupid bitch! Hi-ya!
The last section of the stage was a lot longer than it should have been though. Instead of a loop that led you to the ending, the area where the boss fight took place was extended. She began chasing me once more, What I didn't expect was to see her actually start running faster than before. She had similar running animations to Sonic, hands on her side and her feet moving so fast they looked like a wheel. Sonic was running at his top speeds, but she was still catching up to me. And as she got closer, the same high-pitched sound began playing on loop, growing louder and louder the closer she was. My ears were ringing and I was gritting my teeth. It hurt so bad that I'm pretty sure it may have caused some actual damage to my ears. She was coming closer and closer, but just as she was inches away from catching me, she suddenly halted as I finally ran into the capsule at the end of the level, destroying it, freeing the seeds and completing the level at last. I was relieved. While rubbing my ears, I was seriously questioning if all these were meant to be more than just annoying and straight up malice. That last change had gone a bit too far. I was just about to shut off the game and turn off my computer. I was getting sick of it, but I figured by then that it didn't matter anyways. I finished the last level with less than 2 minutes on the clock, so I might as well just see it through to the end. I finished loading into... I've never played Sonic CD before. I don't know what this zone is called, or how to say its name. And expected things to get strange right off the bat, but oddly enough, not really. The HUD's score and rings counter were still gone, and the music remained absent, but nothing else, really. Time was still ticking, so I figured with nothing else to do, I'd at least try to get as far as I can in the level. Because by then, I had already figured out that I'd likely run out of time before I made any substantial progress.
Whatever, I'm just playing. Dude, what are you doing? I'm playing Pac-Man, but
I didn't get too far at all. I got to the area where Amy is supposed to get kidnapped by Metal Sonic, where he burst through the wall of spikes that prevented me from going forward. The wall and Amy were still there, but Metal Sonic never came at all. Amy didn't try anything either, like I assumed she would. Instead, she was just standing there, looking at Sonic, her arms behind her back. I didn't have a way of moving on to the actual level due to the spike barrier.
Who the fuck is that?
You don't want to know who that is.
Oh, I want to know who that is, Junior. Show me.
Spike.
Spike? Who the fuck is Spike? I've never heard of Spike. Have you heard of Spike?
No.
So I was basically stuck and left there waiting. The timer was running out. Now 50 seconds left. And this is where something changed in Sonic. First, his pupils disappeared, which left his eyes completely white and blanked out. Second was his movement. He felt heavy to control. It took long to gather any speed to actually make him run, like someone set a small limit as to how fast he could go. 25 seconds left. I felt how his speed began decreasing even more, and I had lost the ability to jump. I was left stuck like that as the time ran out. 10 seconds in is where Amy finally did something. She suddenly turned away from Sonic and stared directly at the screen, and in turn directly at me, which left me quite startled. 5 seconds left. Amy kept staring at me, and I in turn stared back at the screen. I didn't really want to turn away. 4 seconds. 3, 2, 1. My computer screen suddenly went dark, and I got scared that something bad may have happened to it. I tried pressing the power button to see if I could get this screen to come back on, but I still got nothing. I, frustratingly, tried searching for a way to get it to turn on. It's a very expensive computer, and I didn't want it to die on me. I turned back to the screen to see something did come back, but it wasn't the game or my desktop. It was still a pitch black screen, but this time there was a golden pixelated eye with a black pupil right there in the middle of my screen. It was staring directly at me. The eye followed me everywhere, like it was studying me. I was dumbfounded. I didn't know what to say or do because I had no idea where it came from or what its deal was. That was until it flashed an incredibly bright white screen at my face. It even went past the limits of what should be possible for a regular computer, and it was glowing brighter and brighter by the second. I wanted to look away, but I couldn't physically turn my head even though I desperately tried to. My neck and body suddenly felt stiff, like something was holding me in place while forcing me to look into that light. In fact, it was pushing my face closer to the screen. My eyeballs felt like they were on fire. Tears were pouring out of the corners of my eyes. And just like that, I suddenly fell headfirst into my keyboard and passed out. I woke up hours later with a terrible headache and blood flowing from my nose, my entire keyboard being soaked in it. I lifted my head up to see the screen again. The game had come back on, but Sonic was in an entirely different zone, a black void with gray grass and nothing else. I didn't really pay any mind to it since I had other things to worry about. I ran to the bathroom and began cleaning off all the blood that had spilled from my nose, since half of my face was covered in it. Something happened back then, after I passed out, but before I woke up. I think I was dreaming, but it was incredibly vague, and memories from that are fuzzy. I do remember some bits and pieces from it though. I was Sonic. I was in a large field with pitch black static and monochrome grass, a place that would have seemed straight out of some fictional story, but to me it felt off. It felt lifeless. There was nothing to see, nothing to do. There were no noises, no apparent ways out. All I could do was just stand there, all alone. Or at least, that's what I thought before it appeared behind me. That thing, something, happened to me because that thing, I didn't know if it did something, but ever since I woke up from that dream happening, I've been feeling horrible. I've been getting these terrible headaches all the time. I haven't been able to sleep properly in days. My nose sometimes randomly starts dripping blood. Overall, I feel incredibly weak, and I'm pretty sure it's all because of that game. I never played it again after what happened, and I made sure to delete every last trace of it off my computer. But I still feel awful. Nothing changed. I went to see a doctor 2 times already, but they can't seem to pin down anything actually wrong with me. They insist that I should be healthy when I feel the furthest thing away from it. I've been trying to wrap my head around it, find any sort of logic, reason as to how this could even happen to me, but I find no other possible explanation than that game. Whatever that game did to me left me in a terrible state. And what's even worse, I feel like I'm being watched. I live in a single bedroom apartment on the 3rd floor of a building. I have no pets or a roommate, and I never even talked to my neighbors. Even though I'm alone, I don't feel like I am anymore, and that scares me. After I finish writing this, I'm gonna go break the disc into pieces, mostly just to air out my frustration, since I know that it's unlikely to actually do anything. It wouldn't make sense then. Again, my condition already makes no sense. Maybe it could be the key to solving my problem. Who knows? But I'm gonna try it anyways.
I don't know what it's like. I'm almost at home. Ever since the day I became sentient. Nobody hero. Nobody to share with. No one else to be with. Nothing. That's all I ever had. It was never what I wanted. I wanted someone to care about. Someone to keep me company. To keep me safe. And now we finally have someone. It happened to see me.